The Shek kingdom was mostly confined to the Badlands between the Great Vein River to the north and the lush mountainside plains to the south. Some said it was just Shek bravado, only weak humans or mindless hivers lived where plants grew. But those who say that have at least never been to those lush plains, known rather accurately as the Spider Plains. "Is that a skimmer?" Nuke puzzled when he first saw one. "More like a skinner," Elena said. "Skin spiders, this is their territory, and the Bugmaster you are looking for is their king." If you'd seen a skimmer you wouldn't be so worried. Way worse than those ugly fugs. Come on. The guild approached a group of these pink, fleshy skin spiders. Since Azumi was ranting about it as they walked, I should tell you that, yes, they only had 4 legs and 2 weird hoof arms hanging from their underbelly. So, like everything that was called a spider, it was certainly not a spider. These beasts had avoided classification so far, since upon closer inspection the leg count wasn't really what caught your attention. They had disfigured faces protruding from their shoulders like huge boils, faces that roughly resembled hivers. The guild killed a few of them quickly, their blades cutting through the soft tissue of these creatures with ease. That gave them all the time they needed to poke at the abominations. You would imagine Els would be first in there, but actually he was the only one keeping his distance. "Gustavsson, it looks like you," Nuke noted, boinging one of the head boils around with a stick. Gustavsson was unimpressed. "Its associations have been erased. It cannot go back. Pay them no heed." Whatever that meant, it was time to leave the piles of flesh to simmer in the midday sun and continue on to the foot of the looming dark mountain to the southwest. There, at the end of civilization, were the twin fortresses of Last Stand. "Didn't think I'd see this place in a long, long time," Elena said.
"Ha! And there were some who wanted to send me here as an offering to the Bugmaster. Seems they got their way in the end,"
Isaiah said. The crew wandered inside one of the forts, but they were even less welcoming than your average Shek outpost. Most of the buildings were featureless sandstone barracks filled with beds and little else. After some searching, they got themselves into a self-styled bar, but inside it was just a bunch of elderly Shek sitting silently around tables, staring into the distance or at their own reflections in the blades of their tall swords. "Come on guys, this isn't a funeral," Nuke remarked under his breath, but at once a frail-looking Shek was in his face.
"Speak when spoken to, Flatskin. I don't know why you are here, but if I have to endure another day of life just to teach you a lesson, then I will," he said.
"Calm down, Crinkles. I just mean this place could use a little brown. I'm gonna kill the Bugmaster, you know." The Shek headbutted Nuke without hesitation. The apparent frailty of the man didn't stop Nuke clearing a whole table before hitting the ground. In a flash, Sandor was in the air also, his blade coming down on the Shek in both hands, but with a single motion, the Shek cleared Sandor away with a wide sweep of his greatsword.
"Stop!"
Isaiah called, jumping into the brewing brawl.
"This is a misunderstanding. Please, friend, excuse my flat-skin comrades. Important tourists, you see, but not at all unskilled. To speak of killing the Bugmaster is no empty bluff. Half empty at most. Half full? No, definitely half empty."
This intervention somehow de-escalated things, and Nuke returned to the conversation, albeit slumped on Wadston's back. "So, sounds like this is a big deal or something," he said. Indeed. The group sat for hours listening to many of the Shek in the bar explain the deal in laborious detail, so allow me to summarize just what was going on in this dour corner of the world. Remember that Kral guy? Well, he was the one who made the eponymous Last Stand on that mountainside, long before the time of the Bugmaster. Entrapped by a band of rebels, warrior Kral had battled 100 of them at once. He had no thought of fleeing, and with skills and strength in equal measure, he sent bodies rolling down the hill, one by one. Then, on the verge of total victory, he had been stabbed in the back and slain. His legend had evolved over the generations, and now the gathering the guild witnessed at Last Stand really was a funeral of sorts. When a Shek neared the end of their life, it was customary to come here to Arak Mountain and die as Kral had died, fighting a battle that always outlived its participants. In the current era, the Bugmaster was the opponent. Luckily for the Shek tradition, the Bugmaster never lost, and so for decades now Shek had gone out into the great razor of Arak, never to return. "Wait a minute," Nuke said after hearing all of this. "It sounds to me like this buggery man is doing you lot a favour. Kill him and your last stands will be literally just standing there and seeing how long you last. Why did Stone Zone want me to come spoil the fun?"
A new game she plays. She sends bounty hunters after the Bugmaster all the time, a Shek replied. She does not understand honor. Now listen here, you, Isaiah said. Queen Astarte fought in battles that Kral could only dream of. Watch your mouth. Why, she is cursed. She had a pale-skinned kid like you, Junior. She should be out here with us. Couple of pale-skins like you wouldn't understand. Surprised those warriors there hang around with you. Hang on.
The barfly was looking at Els, Bobby and Claw, who were sitting at the next table over. Els had a bucket over his head, and so far this had seemed completely unremarkable. However, now it was wrenched off by a gathering group of patrons.
Look at this old chubber, one said. He's far past his due. Do you not know courage, whelk? I don't like skin spiders, Els yelped, running outside. Ah, I think our smelly friend might have found himself here before, Isaiah noted.
Ah, so guess it's stuff like that which turned the Rock Mother off the place, Nuke said. Works for me too. This is shit. I mean, everyone's coming out here, sitting around being miserable thugs, then going out to die fighting some hyped up piece of shit and playing to fucking lose. What's the point? Kral wasn't trying to lose, was he? Why can't we just win? Die how you want, when you want. My boy Charlie wants more bucket time, so give him more bucket time. And those who want to fight the Bugmaster, why don't we just work something out and actually win? This speech got the old Shek at Nuke's table rather angry. They stormed away, but others came closer. Indeed, there were a few Sheks, mostly at the younger end of the old spectrum, who were interested in Nuke's dream of victory. Problem was, he needed a way to actually do it. He needed a secret weapon that the countless thousands who had tried before him didn't have. Operation Brownpound, Nuke announced. Izumi cringed so hard you could actually hear it. All you new guys stick with sad scales here. You're going to be working with this guy, the mysterious masked Shek, Whitehorn Isaiah. He is the leader of the official TCM Plus Bugbuster non-doomed elite chocolate combat shock troops. What's chocolate, I smell you thinking? Chocolate, friends, is the doomsday weapon that will destroy doomsday itself. Once you eat it, you'll know what I mean. So, with the promise that what he had just said would somehow make sense in the future, Nuke plotted a course back to Admag. When he left though, he told Sandor to take a pleasant hike in the Mountain of Death and find out what all the fuss was about. Was this all much ado about nothing? Or was there nothing much all could ado about this? Nuke asked the question in an even more confusing way, I assure you, but Sandor understood and hiked up the mountainside as night fell. Used to finding his way in the dark, Sandor was quickly halfway up. There he encountered a sheltered gully lit by fires. Inside were a dozen heavily armed figures, some pacing about, others sitting quietly on their own. Before they knew it, Sandor was sitting beside one of their campfires. What? Who are you? A man asked. One of you, Sandor replied. A bounty hunter, huh? Well, you fell for it too then, didn't you? Explain. You haven't got it yet? That bounty on the Bugmaster, it's impossible. Shek go up there to the crater every day. Don't do nothing. Spiders come round here every few hours, and it don't matter how many you kill. Then go back. Go back? You think there's anyone here who can go back? Debts is the thing. Kinda debts where you need a big score, or it's the chop. So here we're stuck. Death up there, death down there. If you've come up here by choice, you've got eyes bigger than your belly. Skinnies don't have that problem. But yeah, we'll burn out our wood and see what happens, won't we? Oi, where'd he go? Sandor was beyond the light the fire could offer, hauling himself further up the mountain. He soon saw the crater the bounty hunter had mentioned, and by saw, I mean he felt the moist wind coming up from it. It carried disturbances, the sounds of dozens of soft feet padding around the narrow cliffs leading downwards. Sandor descended towards them, but they faded away faster than he could advance. Instead, he heard the sloshing of water. In the crater's middle there was a huge lake, the water stained red by the exposed minerals in the scorched rocks. In aeons past, the place had been awash with magma and fire, and that legacy remained in the comfortable temperature of the maroon lake. This worked to Sandor's benefit, as something was glinting out on the water. It was time for a swim. He quietly approached a tall shadow, unable to recognize it until it was right up close. It was one of the mushroom-shaped depots characteristic of the Second Empire, only it was collapsed on its side and partially submerged. Climbing inside and finding nothing, Sandor put an ear to the wall and closed his eyes to wait for morning. Back over in Admag, the rest of the guild had arrived safe and sound and were also enjoying the comforts of an old ruin. Only thing was, this ruin had cost Nuke most of his brown profits. He had bought up an old tower on the edge of the city for use as a depot in his operations, which were, to clarify here, selling brown to local drug addicts and gathering an army to conquer Mount Doom. Despite the cost, the place was partially collapsed under its own weight, filled with rubble, and stank of a stink unstunk. "It's all yours, my man," Nuke said, clapping Wadston on the back. "Sort it all out, and I'll rustle up the stocks and jocks for our mission." "Will you not be leaving Miss Azumi to oversee things?" "What? No, she's like my friendly girl or something."
Damn, he really ain't never gonna say it, huh?
Rick remarked. "Yeah, coin slot, you gotta stay too. You really don't help, you know," Nuke said.
I know. Hot damn metal man setting the bar too high. Well, at least this tower's a real doer-upper, you know?
Preferring not to know, the crew got to business. Wadston, Rick and Els were left in Admag to play house, while the rest began the very long walk all the way back to Manksand Canyon. While that quest for a chocolate legion trundles along, let's check back in with Sandor. In the light of day he could see the full extent of the crater he was in. Spider trails ran along the edge and up and down the slopes, but it was quiet for now. It was raining heavily, and a low fog sat up at the crater rim. In the grey, Sandor could make out the faintest shadow of a building high up to the south. He leapt from his perch, slipped quietly into the water, and made for the southern shore. From there it was a steep climb over smooth, slippery rocks, weathered down by years of water flowing into the crater. At the top there was a ridge covered in bouncy red-brown dirt. It ran a short distance west along the crater rim, then turned north into a promontory, the site of the Bugmaster's secret castle. It was a huge Second Empire palace, admittedly in terrible condition. Its grounds were patrolled by hordes of skin spiders, as was the ridge that approached it. That was the only way up, so Sandor couldn't get a closer look. But he'd seen enough to know that the ado was about something indeed, and that something had to be done about it. In Admag, work on the new guild shopfront/military base remained mostly undone. To tackle this, Rick went to the bar to recruit some help.
Listen up, you scaly sons of Narco,
he called out.
It's me, your boy, Captain Redlin Ricard of the International Chocolate Legion or some shit, and I've got some day laboring work going. Who wants to make a quick cat doing my doer-upper up? Yeah, it's real easy work, and the pay's great, I'm telling you. I've been alive, 6,000 years at least, and I ain't never done anything so satisfying as working with me as the boss. Yeah, gather round, I got time. Let's get you all signed up, huh? Oh, by the way, by agreeing to this, you're also agreeing to join a private army, but don't you worry about that. Simple day laboring's all it is, except the part where your life is forfeit. But hey, the contract's just a fucking sandwich, so why sweat the details? You'll be back by Kenshi Kralia Eve, and that's a red Rick guarantee. A disclaimer, this is not a guarantee.
Yep, that worked out pretty well. Nuke had made it back to Squin and was doing the same, but he was pretty much straightforward about it and just paid a load of wannabe soldiers to sign up, or sandwich up as it were. And on top of the cash, we pay you in food too, he boasted. Well, it's not really food, it's something you can put in your mouth, and I'll show you what it is once we get back to my place. With this surely irresistible promise, he managed to wrangle up a veritable squadron of Shek. They embarked with him on the long, uneventful trip back to HQ. Then, Nuke had a promise to keep. He gathered his new recruits and addressed them from atop a big crate. You've all heard of it, you all want it. Browntown, the bread that they did get. The legacy of the Brown Emperor. Yes, it goes by many names, but there's only one place in the world you can get it. From my warm, loving hands. With this, he kicked the crate below him, and the side fell open to reveal a huge stock of brown bread, the product of Jazz and Company's hard work while Nuke's crew had been away. The Shek, who had been forcefully recommended to not eat anything for a day before, lunged forwards at the bread rolling out towards them. Shek are hungry folk even at the best of times, and as a feeding frenzy developed, Nuke put his hands on his hips and laughed in a very sane-sounding fashion. Yes, consume it, my friends, consume the fuel of the revolution. You are not just soldiers, you are the elite warriors of Whitehorn Isaiah, bringer of the Age of Peace, Doom of Doom, Bugmaster Master. You will be undefeatable. You would eat skin spiders for breakfast, but you can't, cause you always fill up on this sweet dessert at every meal. Yes, that is what they shall call the ultimate soldiers, you, my deserters. None of the Shek heard any of this, all lost in a euphoric brown bread trance, but Wadston politely clapped from some distance away. Azumi cleansed herself with a long blink, then hauled her gear over to her office. Someone was waiting for her behind the door. So, how'd it go? Jazz said, quickly closing said door. Azumi slumped into a chair. Well, we're gonna fight some kind of Spider-Man to help Isaiah, Prince Isaiah, as it turns out. Another one? Yeah, pretty good association, huh? What's that mean? Doesn't matter. Anyway, we're back here because we need to get some more BB so Nuke can turbocharge his new toys and get some cash over in the kingdom. So much work. Right, but you know all that isn't really what I meant. I meant how did it go? Go fuck yourself? Stop swearing, you little... How did it go with Nuke? Nuke? It went there and back again. What? All the way there? And all the way back again? What's that even mean? Nothing. It means nothing. Ocaran's paddle. He's just my friend who is a boy, alright? Damn, you really ain't never gonna say it, are you? Jazz grinned. Izumi kicked her out and took a long-deserved nap. The poor Shek didn't have that privilege. They were driven onto the roof of the barracks for an immediate drill instruction. So then, chocolate might not have taken the entire world by storm, but it certainly tickled the fancy of the Shek, and they could in turn tickle the rest of the world on Nuke's behalf. As for what I mean when I say tickle there, you'll find out soon enough.